Discover how a black maid's incredible love changed the lives of millionaire twins forever. Mary woke before dawn, her heart racing against the world outside. The wealthy Thompson household was still enveloped in shadows, but her duties waited for no one. She moved like a whisper through the halls, keeping the rhythm of her family's needs echoing in her mind. Coffee brewing, breakfast sizzling, the glow of hope rising with the sun. She had always considered herself a pillar of strength, even when her own life was a delicate balance of sacrifice and love, fighting to provide for her two children amidst daunting financial struggles. Each morning, the smell of fresh coffee and crispy bacon would float through the air, awakening Alex and Jamie Thompson from their carefree slumber. They shared more than just looks, they basked in a privilege that shielded them from the harsh realities of life, a fact Mary silently accepted. She prepared their favorite breakfasts, all the while knowing her own kids were often left with scraps, late-night snacks, and barely enough to fill their bellies. Yet, she never complained. Instead, she took pride in giving the twins the comfort they desired, a soft cocoon from their world of overwhelming abundance. But one sunny day, everything changed. Their father collapsed, his world turned upside down in a panic that echoed through the affluent home. An ambulance screeched into the driveway, chaos erupting as Mary instinctively stepped in. While others fretted, her calm demeanor brought serenity. She ushered Alex and Jamie away from the growing storm of anxiety, and they found themselves fragile, lost. Unbeknownst to them, Mary held a treasure chest of life lessons that carried them through moments like this. Sometimes, the storms can teach us the most about ourselves, she reassured them, her voice steady despite the tremors of fear in her heart. I once faced a darkness that almost swallowed me whole, but I fought. And so can you. There was a rawness in her words, resonating deep within their souls. Sounds turned into silence as Alex and Jamie listened, their young minds beginning to unravel the threads of truth and privilege. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As days turned into weeks, Mary's life grew heavier with weight. A recent medical emergency turned her own family's stability into a shaky ground. The worry in her heart gripped her tight, but she kept the pain hidden beneath her gentle smile. The twins entered her world, a room filled with laughter and warmth, but they also stepped into a realm of reality beyond their cushioned lives. In these long shared dinners, where laughter sometimes mingled with tears, a bond began to form. Alex and Jamie grappled with their conscience, realizing that their privilege had separated them from real life, and they were horrified by their ignorance. As Mary opened up, her stories of overcoming hardships broke the last of their barriers. Would they, these two millionaire twins, unshielded by their wealth, learn to lift her when her burdens became too heavy? The stakes were growing, and as Mary stood steadfast, emotions crackled in the air. Alex and Jamie faced an undeniable challenge. Would they reach back to Mary, whose spirit had raised them from chaos? Their chance to embrace the toughest yet most rewarding lesson of empathy stood at their doorstep, waiting for a decisive moment. And as the reality of their worlds began to clash, both families danced on the edge of transformation, their lives intertwined, waiting for a heart-stopping choice that could bridge the gap. The days turned long and heavy, but the sun brought with it warmth that seemed to breathe life into the Thompson household. As Mary continued her routine, the laughter and chatter of Alex and Jamie became a comforting melody that played beneath her own worries. They were no longer just the employer's children, they were becoming part of her heartbeat, tied to her through shared moments and whispered stories. "What's this one about?" Jamie asked one evening, his eyes sparkling with curiosity as they gathered around the dinner table. Mary had woven an enchanting tale about her childhood, a small town bustling with people who had big dreams but small means. "That sounds like magic." Alex chimed in, leaning closer. Real magic, she thought, came not from fairy tales but from resilience. And yet, The weight of her own life loomed large, tension pulsing in her chest. Her children needed her more than ever, and the longer she stood as a beacon of strength, the deeper her fears intertwined with her love for the twins. "Magic isn't about what we have," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "It's about what we choose to do with what we've got. Every moment matters." The twins nodded, absorbing her words like sponge, and she felt a flicker of hope ignite amidst her brewing storm, but that hope soon came under siege. One evening, news from home cut through her like a dagger. Mary's son had fallen ill, and the bills were stacking up. Panic flooded her thoughts, and her breath quickened. She managed to hide her distress from Alex and Jamie, laughing to mask the shadows that danced in her mind. Days passed, and she could see the twins' growing concern. They watched her with worried glances, sensing the fracture lines in her smile. One afternoon, under the bright sun peeking through the kitchen window, Alex finally broke the silence. "Mary, are you okay?" His voice was soft, lifting her heart just a bit, but her courage faltered. "Oh, honey," she said, blinking away tears that threatened to spill. "Just tired from a long week. You know how it goes." He looked unconvinced, his brow furrowing. "It's more than that, isn't it? We can help you, you know." Those words hung like a breath between them. Help? How? Their lives had always been separated by privilege, but in that moment, she sensed a bridge was forming, but the fear of asking for help intertwined with her pride. "No, darling. I couldn't. Why not?" Jamie interjected, taking a step closer. "You're always there for us. We want to be there for you." Her heart raced. The enormity of their offer weighed her down yet lifted her spirits. The innocence of their love flooded through her, merging with the complexities of her circumstances. Could she allow them to shoulder some of her pain? Just as she was about to respond, the ground felt like it was shifting beneath her. Their father had returned home from the hospital unexpectedly early. Fear took hold of the room like an unwelcome shadow, and Mary knew she had to protect the fragile conversation. "Let us finish dinner," she said quickly, forcing brightness into her tone. "I've made your favorite." As they sat down, Mary's mind raced. Could Alex and Jamie see past their privilege? Would they truly understand the depths of her struggles? The love in her heart tangled with unuttered worries, and in that moment, she felt like a traveler at a crossroads. Dinner unfolded with an uneasy charm, each laugh tinged with an unspoken tension. As the twilight drifted in, casting a glow over their shared meal, Mary's resolve began to soften. Perhaps it was time to share more, to let them in a little bit deeper, but would it come at a cost? Would including them in her reality destroy the magic they had formed together? As the last bites of food were cleared away, she felt that the moment of truth was close, hovering like a storm cloud overhead, waiting for the chance to unleash its rain. With the twins watching, anticipation hung thick in the air. She could feel the weight of the world pressing down on her, and she realized the time had come for a choice that would alter their lives forever. What truths would Mary reveal? And could Alex and Jamie bear the burden that had always been hers to carry? The heaviness in the air felt almost tangible as Mary glanced at Alex and Jamie, their eyes wide with curiosity and concern. She could see the twinkle of youth in them, a stark contrast to the troubles that clawed at her heart. Life had thrown her a storm, one she was accustomed to weathering alone. But they were offering her something she had never asked for, a chance to share her burden. Mary hesitated, searching for the right words. Her throat felt thick, and she suddenly grasped the edges of the dining table, as if anchoring herself to the familiar in this moment of uncertainty. "Mary, it's okay," Jamie finally said, reaching across the table, his small hand landing on hers. "You can tell us. We're here for you." The warmth of his touch sent a jolt through her, and somehow, it felt like a small opening in her tightly woven cocoon of worries. Resilience was one thing, but sharing her pain was an entirely different load to carry. "Okay," she whispered, her voice trembling. "But you have to promise that no matter what, we'll stay a family. Always." Alex shouted, his fingers interlacing with Jamie's. He nodded fervently. We're not going anywhere. With that assurance lighting a hardened corner of her heart, she took a deep breath and let it out slowly. It's about my son, Thomas. He is sick, and I'm afraid the words swallowed her, but she pushed through. I don't know how to make it all better. Silence enveloped the room, thick and heavy. The twins shared a glance, a mix of understanding and urgency, and Mary could see how the magic she spoke of began slipping into the stark realities of life. What do you mean he is sick? Jamie asked, his tone shifted from quiet concern to a fierce protectiveness. What's wrong with him? Mary bit her lip. The truth felt like a secret that had been festering too long, a wound that needed to be unveiled. He has a serious illness, and the bills just keep piling up. I feel so lost sometimes, like I can't catch a break. Their faces changed, understanding washing over them like a wave. Alex glanced down, fiddling with his napkin. I had no idea, Mary. I thought you were just tired because of the long hours. His voice was small, almost like a whisper. Mary nodded sadly, the weight of her truth settling over them all. You see now why I'm keeping it to myself? I thought I could protect you from my troubles, that you wouldn't understand. But we do understand. Jamie insisted. We want to help. We can figure something out together. You don't have to do this alone. A flicker of hope ignited again in Mary's chest, but it came with a twist of fear. But how? You're just kids. You have your own lives, your own problems. I don't care, Alex said, his determination rising. You're important to us, Mary. We want you to be okay. We're all in this together. She felt tears prick at her eyes, and she couldn't hold them back any longer. You're too young to take on burdens that aren't yours. But we've been sharing this magic for so long, Jamie interjected, his voice steady. We can share our struggles too. That's what family is for. Their sincerity washed over her like a warm tide, and she felt her heart swelling with emotion. Could this truly work? Could their love endure the harsh realities she had tried to shield them from? Just then, the clinking of keys echoed from the hallway. Their father was back. Panic surged through Mary. Would he dismiss her confession? Would he resent her for burdening his children? Quick, clean up. She whispered urgently, trying to regain control. The moment felt fragile, like a bubble ready to pop. As they sprang into action, Mary's heart raced. She realized something vital: sharing her struggle could change everything, but would it leave room for their love to flourish? As she glanced back at the twins, their expressions filled with intent and determination, Mary felt a flood of uncertainty. Would revealing her truth strengthen their bond or rupture the very fabric of their makeshift family? The door creaked open, and Mary braced for the rush of reality to crash in. Little did she know that. Sometimes, the hardest truths might just lead to the most beautiful transformations. What would happen when the layers of love and hidden burdens were finally unveiled? Would they all walk away from this moment forever changed? As the door swung open, a heavy presence filled the small kitchen. Tom, their father, stepped inside, his usual confidence overshadowed by an air of fatigue. He glanced at his children, who stood just a little too still, eyes darting nervously between him and Mary. Hey, kids, he said, his voice warm but tired. How was school? You finish your homework? Yeah, we're almost done, Alex replied quickly, flashing a smile that felt more like a mask than genuine joy. Jamie nodded vigorously, gripping his brother's arm, a silent plea for distraction. Tom didn't seem to notice the tension. He wandered to the counter, plucking an apple from the bowl before leaning against it. I'll fix dinner in a bit, he announced, the weight of his day evident in his posture. Mary needed to act fast, to shield Alex and Jamie from the storm brewing in her heart. I was just about to put some pasta on, she offered, rushing toward the stove, her hands shaking as she grabbed a pot. She forced a smile, though her stomach twisted into knots. Don't worry about it, Tom said, his brow furrowing as he spotted the nervous energy around the table. This can wait. I'll make something quick. You've done enough today. No, really, it's fine, Mary insisted, a little too eagerly. She turned on the burner, water splashing against the heated pot like her rising anxiety. I appreciate it, but I want to help make dinner since you've had a long day. All right, Tom replied, but the soft tracing of his fingers on the apple indicated he wasn't quite convinced. He took a bite, chewing slowly while watching her with curiosity. Mary glanced back at the twins. The reassurance in their eyes was both comforting and terrifying. Maybe if she could juggle this act of normalcy for just a little longer, the truth wouldn't crash down around them. For now, they could pretend this evening was like any other, free of deep shadows. The chatter of their father and the goofiness of the twins created a strange ambience. Laughter erupted as Jamie teased Alex about a math problem, but Mary could scarcely engage with the conversation. Instead, she stirred the boiling water, forcing herself to drown out the noise in her mind. Mary, can't you, actually tell us how to mix up a sandwich next time? Jamie joked. You're incredibly talented at boiling water. Laughter rippled through the kitchen, lightening the mood at the table, and for a fleeting moment, Mary's heart swelled. She reminded herself that this small family gathered in the kitchen was resilient. Yet, deep down, her thoughts turned somber again. As she served the pasta, watching the twins happily clamoring for more, her thoughts circled back to Thomas. She wondered what would happen if their father found out what she had shared while he was away. There was no way it could ever lead to something positive. She couldn't risk the idea of breaking this family apart, especially when the kids were already leaning on her as their emotional anchor. After dinner, the laughter faded into a comfortable silence. Mary glanced toward the window, noticing the darkening sky. She felt a swell of urgency to share everything, the burden whispering louder in her heart. The twins seemed to sense her shift, exchanging glances, an unspoken connection embodying their intention to stand together. Just then, Jamie spoke up. Can we have a family meeting after dinner? Her stomach dropped. A meeting? Of what sort? About Thomas, Alex said bluntly, his young face alight with determination. We need to do something. Mary inhaled sharply, the thrill of hope and fear dancing along her spine. Yeah, we want to help, Jamie said. We can be the magic you let us have. If you're okay, then we know we can do this too. She froze, the thought that they were ready to shoulder more than they should send waves of dread through her. Could she truly let them in on everything? What if it overwhelmed them or changed everything they held dear? With her breath caught, Mary searched their faces. The sincerity pierced through her defenses, just as the weight of the moment hung heavy in the air. Okay, she finally replied, her voice wavering. Let us talk. But you have to understand it might get tough. Bring it on, Alex said fiercely. Would this conversation mark a turning point, or would it fracture the very connections they were trying to strengthen? As the twins prepared to face the complexities she had long hidden, Mary felt the gravity of the moment rise. Could love truly transform their family by sharing struggles as openly as they shared joy? In her heart, she knew this was just a moment, a soft beginning to what lay ahead. And as they gathered closer, the table no longer felt like a barrier but a bridge where they all could meet, waiting for the next step into the unknown. Would they be strong enough for the storm that was bound to come? Mary took a deep breath, her heart racing as all three of them settled around the table. The casual dinner they had just enjoyed felt like a distant memory, replaced now by an atmosphere thick with anticipation and unspoken fears. She looked at Alex and Jamie, their young faces slightly illuminated by the lamplight, their eyes wide but resolute. This was a pivotal moment, and she sensed the vulnerability hanging in the air. Okay, so where do we start? Mary asked, her voice steadying, though her palms were clammy against the table. Let us talk about Thomas, Jamie said, his determination shining through his fear. What happened when Dad was away? Was it really about the job, or is there more? Mary's mind raced back to the conversations she had with Thomas, the whispers of discontent, the unfulfilled promises. It was as if a Pandora's box was about to open, and she had to consider if she was ready to unleash it. "It's not just about Thomas," she began cautiously. "It's about how he has been feeling like he's not a part of the family anymore." She hesitated, feeling the weight of their gazes. "I've seen the way Dad tries to hold everything together, and it worries me." Alex leaned forward, his brow furrowed. "But we can help, right? Is he sick? Can't we just talk to him? Maybe we'll find a way to fix things." Mary felt her heart soften at the innocence in Alex's voice. They wanted to believe in solutions, in magic fixes that could erase the tension. But she knew better, life rarely worked that way. "It's more complicated than that," she said gently. "Sometimes, people need more than just words. They need understanding even when it hurts." Jamie crossed his arms, his expression defiant. "So we have to show him that he can trust us, right? We've always been a team." That sentiment warmed her heart, a flicker of hope igniting in the darkness. "Yes, we are a team," Mary said, feeling a rush of pride for her boys. "But trusting someone who feels lost can take time." "Time is something we can give," Alex said firmly. "If we keep talking about how we feel, maybe it really will help." Mary nodded, impressed by their sheer determination. "All right, let us promise to keep this talk ongoing. We'll share our feelings and reach out to Thomas in ways we can. But remember, it may not be easy." Just then, a tap at the window startled them. They turned to see the rain beginning to fall, the sound a gentle background to their conversation. Dim light painted shadows across their faces, echoing the battle between hope and fear that they all felt. "Look," Jamie said, glancing back at the window. "If we can handle a little thunder, we can handle this, too. Right?" Mary caught the hidden strength in his words, and a small smile broke across her face. "That's right, Jamie. Together, we can face whatever comes." With renewed resolve, Mary looked back at the twins. "So, what's our first step?" Alex, wearing his fierce determination like armor, said, "Let us make a plan. We could write down everything we want to say to him. That way, we won't forget anything important." Mary felt a wave of pride wash over her. They were actively choosing to confront the chaos instead of avoiding it. "I think that's a wonderful idea. We can write little notes, and when Thomas gets home, we can share them together." The rain pattered against the window with a rhythm that matched the beating of their hearts. The feeling of control and focus began to push back the anxious thoughts swirling in her mind. "And when do we talk to him?" Jamie asked, eyes glimmering. Mary looked at the clock. "Tom would be home any moment." "How about tonight?" "Right after he gets in," she suggested, her voice tinged with excitement. But as Mary spoke, a knot of anxiety coiled tighter in her stomach. Would Tom be ready to hear this? "He might not react the way we want," she warned, hoping to temper their enthusiasm. "It might take more than one talk." "Then we'll keep talking," Alex said resolutely. "Whatever it takes." "Whatever it takes," Jamie echoed, fists clenched in determination. As they huddled together, creating their plan, the heaviness that had hung over the kitchen began to fade. With a shield of hope surrounding them, they faced the unknown, a space of deeper conversation and family dynamics they had never committed to exploring, and as they prepared to put their brave plan into action, the flicker of lights illuminated a path toward understanding. But would Tom be prepared for what awaited him when he walked through that door? The rain picked up, each drop sounding like a heartbeat echoing through the silence of the kitchen. Mary caught sight of the clock again, her heart fluttering erratically as the minutes ticked by. It was a mix of excitement and apprehension swelling within her. Would Thomas even want to talk? Would he be receptive to their concerns? "Mom, do you think Dad will be mad?" Alex broke the silence, his voice laced with uncertainty. Mary paused, contemplating his words. "I don't know, honey. He might be taken off guard. Change can be hard." Jamie shifted in his seat, nervous energy rolling off him in waves. "But we have to try. It's what families do, right?" Mary nodded, her heart swelling again with pride at their conviction. You're right, Jamie. This is about being honest and finding a way to reconnect. Just then, the sound of a key turning in the lock resonated through the home, slicing through the anticipation like a knife. The boys exchanged nervous glances, their eyes bright with both fear and determination. Okay, here we go, Mary said, trying to match their resolve. The door opened, and Thomas stepped in, shaking off the rain like a wet dog. His eyes quickly scanned the room, landing on the three of them at the table. Hey, everyone, he said, attempting a cheerful tone. It felt forced, yet Mary appreciated the effort. Hey, Dad, Jamie replied, his small voice struggling to carry the weight of the moment. Dinner okay? Thomas asked, looking around at their empty plates. Mary's heart sank at the sight of him, tired lines etched into his face. She could see the weariness behind his smile. Yeah, we were just. Thomas's brow furrowed as he caught her expression, suspicion adjusting his cheerful facade. What is going on? You all look like you're about to spring a surprise party or something. Mary took a calming breath. Actually, we were hoping to talk to you about something important. Her words hung in the air like a heavy fog. Thomas crossed his arms, his expression shifting from casual to serious, the weight of the unexpected conversation evident in his body language. Okay, he said slowly, choosing his words carefully. What about? It's about, well, how you've been lately, Mary started hesitantly. We love you, and we've seen that you've been struggling. We want to understand. We want to help. The room felt electric, charged with an intensity that silenced the rain outside. Alex and Jamie shifted in their seats, both bracing for their father's response. There was a brief hush, and then Thomas sighed, running a hand through his hair. You know, it's been tough at work. I thought I was handling it. His tone wavered, revealing the layers of hurt beneath his bravado. But Dad, Jamie interjected, his youthful voice cutting through the tension. You don't always have to handle everything alone. We're the team, remember? At that moment, Mary felt a warmth spread across her chest as pride surged inside her. There was so much bravery in her boys, and perhaps it could help bridge this distance with Thomas. Slowly, the reality of her family's struggle began to unfold. They were willing to face it together, despite the fear rumbling in the depths of her stomach. Would it be enough? Could this be a turning point? As Thomas met Jamie's earnest gaze, she held her breath, waiting for his reaction. Maybe I could talk about it, he said quietly, the crack in his exterior deepening. Mary's heart soared, still nervous but filled with cautious hope. Together, she whispered, locking eyes with each of them, the boys nodding in affirmation. As they spiraled deeper into the tangled web of emotions and confessions, the rain continued to fall outside, and in that moment, it was as if the storm outside matched the one brewing within their hearts. Would they emerge from it together, redefined by a love that had flourished amid the tempest? Or would they find themselves struggling against the currents of silence once more? Thomas shifted in his chair, the weight of his own thoughts pulling him under like a tidal wave. He could feel the tentative gazes of his family, their eyes whispering encouragement and concern. Okay, he started, his voice trembling just slightly. Let us talk. The rain tapped against the window, a rhythm underscoring the tension in the room. Mary felt the excitement of their impending conversation meld with a fear of the unknown. She reached across the table, placing her hand over Thomas's, the warmth grounding both of them. Why don't you tell us what's been going on at work? You seem so distant lately, she offered gently, hoping her words would cut through the fog. Thomas took a deep breath, the heaviness in his chest evident even in the simplicity of that motion. It's just everything feels like a mess. He rubbed his temples, eyes squeezed shut as though trying to banish some hidden horror. There's so much pressure. My boss expects miracles, and it's all falling apart. I don't think I'm enough. The silence wrapped around them, heavy and thick. Mary could see the boys' fearful expressions, they too felt the gravity of their father's admission. Jamie inched closer, a small boy caught in the middle of a torrent of grown-up dilemmas. Dad, you're more than enough, Jamie asserted, his young voice infusing the room with a desperate conviction. You've always been there for us, and now it's our turn. You're not alone in this. A flicker of something hope passed across Thomas's face. It startled Mary. She hadn't realized how long it had been since she'd seen that look in his eyes. Sometimes I wonder if I'm letting you down, he said quietly, vulnerability spilling from him like a wound opened wide. I'm trying to keep everything together, but it feels overwhelming. She shuffled her chair closer to him. We're all trying. Families don't break under pressure. They come together. We want to be there for you, to help shoulder the burden. Her voice trembled slightly, laden with emotion. With each word, she felt the dam holding back their struggles threaten to crack. But she also saw the flickers of understanding in Thomas's eyes, moments where he began to realize that support could weave fortitude into their fragile fabric. Do you really think we can do this? He asked, the walls around him beginning to crumble as he leaned forward, seeking connection. Mary nodded earnestly, squeezing his hand tighter. We can face anything together. That's what family is for. Just then, Alex chimed in, gaining confidence. And we're a good team. All of us. This isn't just on you, Dad. We promise to help. Thomas looked around the table, both boys' faces lit with determination, and he felt a rush of emotion, thickening his throat. Despite the relentless rain outside, he felt a flicker of warmth. They may have been battling a storm, but they were doing it side by side. Okay, he whispered, his voice cracking slightly. If you're with me then I'll try. A small wave of relief washed over Mary. It wasn't a perfect solution, but it was a baby step into the unknown. They were reaching for each other now, digging through the underbrush of their intertwined lives in a way they hadn't dared to for so long. As the conversation flowed, unresolved issues began to surface, moments of hurt and care. Thomas shared stories of overwork, shame from feeling inadequate, and wrestled with the identity he had forged in the whirlwind of corporate demands. Yet in those shared admissions, vulnerability blossomed, allowing laughter to intermingle with tears. Mary marveled at how each member of their family contributed pieces to the collective healing as they navigated through pain and hope hand in hand. And then Mary felt the weight of an urgency settle in her stomach. The unknown stretched on before them. They were taking on this journey, and while it presented a chance to heal, it also birthed fear of deeper truths still lurking in the shadows. Why didn't we talk about this sooner? Thomas mused aloud, rubbing at his eyes in disbelief. Because sometimes facing the truth is the hardest part, Mary replied softly, her heart racing at the realization of how much lay ahead of them. As the storm raged outside, one thing hung in the air, with each word shared, they were starting to carve through the darkness together. But would the truth they uncovered bring them closer, or would it ignite new struggles that could pull them apart? As the last drop of the rain fell against the pavement outside, a newfound stillness settled over the room. Thoughts whirled in Thomas's mind, chains of worries and hopes tangled together. It wasn't just about work anymore. It was about being a father, a husband, and a man willing to confront the hard conversations he had avoided for so long. Mary watched her husband closely, noticing the slight tremor in his hands, the way he seemed to gather strength from the boy's presence. You know, she started, her tone soft but insistent, the way we view challenges can change everything. Maybe it isn't just pressure you're feeling, maybe it's that you're chasing these impossible ideals. Do you mean? Thomas trailed off, his brow furrowing. Perhaps it's time to redefine what success really means, she suggested, her voice growing stronger. What if we find joy in the small wins? Celebrate the moments where we come together instead of focusing on what feels like failure. Her words settled like fresh soil, ready for new growth. He could see the boys nodding along, their faces eager for answers. I guess it's just hard to see the good when I'm buried under deadlines and demands. I feel like a hamster on a wheel, running but never getting anywhere, he confessed, glancing at the boys who had watched him, worried but hopeful. You taught us how to ride bikes, Dad, Alex piped up suddenly. At first, I fell a lot. You said it was okay to fall, but I had to get back up and try again. There was innocence in his voice, yet the truth was profound. Thomas blinked back sudden tears, the way his heart swelled with pride for his boy overwhelming him. You're right, he said softly, leaning closer toward them. Maybe I just need to get back on the bike. And we can be there to catch you if you fall, Jamie added earnestly, the sincerity in his tiny face lighting up Thomas's spirit. Together, we can figure it out, he insisted, with courage budding under the words shared. Thomas began to feel the weight of his struggles lift just a little. Maybe we can sit down and write out a plan together. Something that involves all of us, a way to balance things out, he began, hope threading through his voice. Mary felt a warmth blossom in her chest. We could make family meetings a regular thing. Check in with each other weekly, share our highs and lows. Would that work, Thomas? He nodded, finally believing that they could collectively create an anchor amidst their storms. It was a vision that felt more like a lifeboat than a crutch. The idea of progress rooted in togetherness flickered like a lighthouse in the darkness of doubt. The boys exchanged glances, their smiles growing wider. Can we also make it fun? Jamie asked, laughter bubbling up like a spring water. Alex grinned. Yes. We can have snacks. They burst into laughter then, a sweet moment of connection that broke the tension as easily as the storm outside began to subside. Thomas felt lighter somehow, as if no longer tethered to the weight of expectation. But just as laughter echoed through the living room, a vibrating phone broke the moment. The screen flashed brightly, the name Jim blinking. Thomas hesitated at first, the dread of work creeping back into his mind. What if it's my boss? He murmured, hands trembling once more. Then answer it, Mary urged gently, her eyes locking onto his. You can show him you're not just a face at work, you're a father, a husband, and someone who deserves to have his voice heard. With resolve hardening deep within him, Thomas reached for the phone, heart pounding in anticipation. Would this call change everything, or simply bring him back to the same old cycle? As he lifted the phone to his ear, everything felt like it hung in the balance: hope, fear, and the inevitable push toward a future they were finally trying to shape together. Would this be a moment of truth, or would it lead them down a path they were still unprepared for? Thomas took a deep breath, steadying himself as he pressed the phone against his ear. Hello, Jim, he said, his voice tinged with cautious optimism. Hey, Thomas. Glad I caught you, came Jim's energetic greeting. I know things have been a bit hectic lately, but I wanted to touch base. We've got some new projects coming up, and I think you might be a perfect fit for at least one of them. As Jim continued to speak about numbers and deadlines, Thomas struggled to focus. The laughter from just moments before echoed in his ears, reminding him of the newfound unity he felt with Mary and the boys. Could he juggle these new demands without losing the momentum they had built together? Thomas? Jim's voice broke through his thoughts. Are you with me? Yeah, sorry I'm here, he replied, forcing a smile against the tide of uncertainty rising within. It sounds promising, but I really need to know more about the timeline and what you expect from me. Of course. I'll send everything over, but I trust your judgment to keep up the quality while managing your time. You've got a good team, right? In that moment, Thomas felt a small pang of anxiety blossom within. His team, his family was what mattered most now. Yes, I do, but I'm trying to shift gears here, you know. It's not just about work anymore. Jim paused, a hint of surprise in his response. Right. Family first, I completely understand. I admire that you're finding that balance. Let us revisit this in a week. I definitely want to work with you on this, but only if it fits. Relief washed over Thomas, and as he hung up, it was clear that for the first time, he didn't feel like he was simply treading water. He looked at Mary, who had been waiting patiently, her eyes filled with a mixture of concern and encouragement. Well? She asked, biting her lip, a small smile tugging at the corners of her mouth. Jim wants to work with me, but he's okay with waiting, Thomas replied, the weight of the decision settling more easily on his shoulders. I said I'm trying to find balance. See? That's progress, she said, her smile widening. You're redefining your success already. The boys erupted with joy. Did he say snacks and fun? Jamie exclaimed, hopping on the couch with excitement, followed by Alex who joined in with an exaggerated victory dance. Thomas chuckled, their laughter twisting the tension into something light. He settled down on the carpet, pulled the boys into a makeshift huddle. Okay, Team Thomas, we need a plan. What's on the agenda for our family meeting next week? Alex raised his hand, his excitement palpable. Thoughts and dreams. Photo scavenger hunt. Jamie chimed in, eyes alight with mischief. Yes. And popcorn. They shouted together, giggles merging with their ideas, laughter echoed as they brainstormed, but just as the excitement peaked, an uneasy silence washed over Thomas's face. He realized that while they could plan all they wanted, an underlying question still nagged at him: could he truly balance work with the family life he wanted to embrace? Mary must have sensed it too. Her expression softened, a reminder of the very real challenges that lay ahead. Whatever happens, we'll face it together, she reassured him, with her words warming his heart. Thomas nodded, determined but still apprehensive. He needed to believe that they could navigate the journey ahead as a team, embracing both the fun and challenges. As the boys continued their animated chatter, a new message buzzed on Thomas's phone. He glanced down, and dread settled in again. It was from Jim, the subject plain, project details quick read. His stomach fluttered with tension. Was this going to be the test that undid everything he and Mary had just built? With a deep breath, he opened the message. Would this change everything, or could he still hold on to the life they were trying to build together? Mary inhaled deeply, the scent of home mixed with uncertainty swirling in the kitchen as she glanced at her family. The morning light danced through the windows, illuminating smiles that felt heavier than before. Excited anticipation buzzed among them. But a familiar worry tucked away in her heart reminded her of the fragility of their new bond. The previous night had been a breakthrough, but would it hold? As she prepared breakfast, her mind wandered back to their heartfelt conversation. They had faced truths, stripped their vulnerabilities bare, their hearts intertwined from shared stories of struggle. But the urge to open up more still lurked, demanding attention. Just then, Alex and Jamie bounded into the kitchen. What's for breakfast? Jamie chirped, bursting with energy. Pancakes. She replied, her heart swelling at their enthusiasm. In that moment, she realized that all they needed was time and room to heal. Breakfast was a good start. As pancakes sizzled in the pan, a gentle knock interrupted the morning dance. Mary felt a rush of anxiety. It was Tom's day off. He'd be home soon, ready to tackle what they had sparked the night before. Would he follow up or retreat into that familiar shell of his? Moments later, he entered the room, disheveled and tired yet eager, a hint of hope flickering in his eyes. Good morning, he said, his voice echoing warmth. Mary smiled, placing a warm pancake onto a plate and stepping closer. How did you sleep? Better, he admitted, glancing at the boys who were happily attacking their breakfast. Last night felt different. The twins exchanged glances, an unspoken cue that warmed Mary's heart. We had our first family meeting, Jamie announced, beaming proudly. And we came up with some great ideas for next week. What kind of ideas? Tom asked, curious and intrigued. Photo scavenger hunt. Alex jumped in, his eyes gleaming. It'll be fun, and we can all participate together. Mary felt hope twisting into determination. And a family touchstone. A place to share our weekly struggles and wins, she added, locking eyes with Tom, who appeared to absorb their excitement. That sounds amazing, Tom exclaimed, a smile creeping onto his face. I'm in. An unfamiliar warmth spread through Mary. This was their moment, their family knit together by love and understanding. We can create a tradition, she suggested, her heart fluttering. Every week, we'll gather and share what touched us most: storytelling, laughter, and snacks, of course. Snacks. The boys cheered, their eyes dancing with excitement. As the family bantered, Mary felt the stirrings of strength growing within her. Could this transformation hold? Suddenly, it struck her whose lives hung delicately in the balance she had created a bridge, and together they could cross it. But we also need to keep it honest, she interjected, her voice serious yet soothing. Life's not just fun, we can face rough moments together. The small gathering resonated deep within her, a sense of hope pushing away the shadows that lingered too long. With that determination, she pushed through her worries, willing instants of truth to penetrate even the darkest corners of their lives. As they took bites of the pancakes, Mary took a deep breath. "Tom," she began delicately, her voice steady with courage. "About your work." He looked at her, surprise shifting his focus. "I know it's been a struggle, but we need to embrace what we've shared, to create that safety net to fall back on." "What do you mean?" His brow furrowed, scrunching in confusion. "Let us make that commitment together, as a family, to support each other, to be there. We've come this far, and I believe we can do it." Her words felt like a thread weaving through their lives, connecting their hearts with strength. "I'm willing to try," he said, sincerity in his tone. "I want to make this work, for all of us." Tears prickled the corners of her eyes. In that moment, she realized they hadn't just transformed individually but in union. Together, they weaved a tapestry stronger than any they had known before. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed outside, a playful sound that belonged to the world beyond their kitchen, a reminder of life simply happening. The boys jumped to the window, laughter spilling through. "Look! Finn and Molly are back!" Jamie exclaimed. "They brought their dog." Mary looked at Tom, their eyes changing in unison: the joy, their children, the bubbling atmosphere painting bright memories that had yet to unfold. As they piled outside to greet the familiar faces, Mary felt warmth flood her heart, connection, love, vulnerability bundled together. "Together," she whispered, a promise surging through her. They could redefine what it meant to be a family through thick and thin. Storms would bring them closer, teaching them to navigate their lives as a cohesive unit. And as the sunlight splashed across their faces, Mary realized that the magic of their collective love lay in transformation, but it also rested on vulnerability and courage, embracing chaos and laughter as they built a home from strength. The laughter rang loud, spilling through the garden and into the neighborhood as they reveled in the beauty of togetherness, a family finally defined not by perfection but by resilience, a home carved from shared moments, where struggles met joy. This, she thought, was transformational love. Now is your moment. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to help feed the algorithm. Comment below your feelings about this incredible ending. And don't wait not even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to feel this transformation. True supporters like you are what keep this channel alive.